Hi guys, so let's look at the last student task statement of this lesson, which is called rotations and speed. Now keep in mind the reason why we're still doing this optional student task statement is because we skipped the student activity because we're at home. So needless to say, it says the circumference of a car wheel is about 65 inches. They said if the car wheel rotates once per second, how far does the car travel in 1 minute? Number 2 is saying that if the car wheel rotates once per second, about how many miles does the car travel in 1 hour? And then question 3 and 4, it says if the car wheel rotates 5 times per second, about how many miles does the car travel in 1 hour? And it says if the car travels 65 miles per hour, about how many times per second does the car wheel rotate? Okay, so it's saying that the circumference of the car wheel is about 65 inches, which means that it is already found. The circumference is already found, and the circumference is 65 inches. Okay, so we don't have to figure out what the circumference is compared to the last problem. Ooh, look at all that work. Because it's given to us already. All right. So it's given to us already. We already know that the outside of this wheel, just for my visual learners, is 65 inches. Okay, so the outside of the wheel is 65 inches. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to multiply or figure out, well, how many seconds are in 1 minute? How many seconds are in 1 minute? If you guess that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, you're absolutely correct. So why would I need to know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute? Why is that imperative to solving question 1? Because we're going to multiply the quantity of seconds that's in the minute times the circumference. Okay, so we're going to do 65 times 60. So 65 times 60 would give me, hold on, give me a second, 3,900 rotations. Okay, because just like I said, the circumference is the distance for one rotation. Okay, so then for the next one, it says, well, if the car wheel rotates in once per second, well, how far does it travel in 1 hour? Now with this one, even though it doesn't say it, you're going to have to use the information from your answer in question 1 and apply it to question 2. All right. So if this is the amount of rotations per minute, how many minutes are in an hour? So that's some annotations. How many minutes are in an hour? If you guess 60 minutes are in 1 hour, you are absolutely correct. And just like what we did with the last problem, we're going to multiply this value because this represents 1 minute, okay? 3,900 times 60, because that represents the amount of rotations per minute. So here we go. So it gives us this really large number. So like I said, I'm using a calculator times 60, and it's going to give me 234,000. Now in our last question, it told us that it's, because this is inches, right? We figured out that, hey, 63, and I'm going to point to it, 63,360 is equivalent to 1 mile. So 63,360 inches is equivalent to 1 mile. So what I want to do is I want to divide that, because it asks us how many miles, okay? I want to divide that. And when I divide that, it's going to give me how many miles. And it gives me about, I'm going to give you guys a number. I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth. And I'm going to say about. Now with this one, you could put about, I'm going to just put about 3.7 miles. All right. Because it only asks us for the miles, okay? And then let's see. Because I want to erase it, because it say how far does it travel. We're going to put inches instead. I apologize about that. Okay, so now let's move to question 3 and 4. They said the car wheel rotates 5 times per second. Then how far does the car travel in 1 hour? So if it rotates 5 times per second, we still need to multiply our answer in the first one times 5, but it's now that's representing 1 second. So it's going to be 65 times 5. It's going to represent 1 second. But then again, you got to figure out, well, how many minutes? So let's do this, okay? So we're going to multiply 65 times 5. 65 is representing the distance, okay? 5 is representing the time. So now I'm going to start converting it, okay? Because there are 60, because this is 1 per second, right? We know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Then we know that they are 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So what we could do is we could do 65, because this is representing the circumference. This is representing the quantity, how many times. Because I want you guys to know where these numbers are coming from. So 65 times 5 times 60 times 60. So this will be converted to minutes. And this will be converted to hours. So I want you to understand where those 60s come from. All right. So it's going to be 65 times 5 times 60 times 60. And it says how far can it travel in 1 hour? And you could put, this is the answer I got. And then to convert those inches to miles, we can divide it, or divide our answer. By 63,360 to figure out how many miles, because it wants us to put our answer in terms of miles and not inches. So I'm going to divide that for you guys. And I'm going to, this is the number it gives me, but I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. So 47. So you could put about, okay, about 18.47 miles. All right. Okay, guys. So for our last question, we're going to be doing question 4. It says, if the car is traveling 65 miles per hour, about how many times per second does the wheel rotate? Okay, so we need to first figure out, I've been using inches the whole time for like just carrying out the same theme. I've just been using inches. So I'm going to continue to use inches. Now the numbers will get big, but it's okay. Don't feel intimidated, right? So I need to figure out how many inches are in 65 miles. So I'm going to multiply that times, well, we already know it's 63. Let me multiply that. Hold on, change it to my eraser. 65 times 63,300. Okay, so when I multiply that, I should get, which I know I'm going to get a really large number, guys. Don't feel intimidated. But I'm going to get 4,118,400. Okay, so 4,118,400. Okay, and that is the inches. Now, I'm going to reference back to question number 2. Here's the reason why. Because question number 2 told us how many rotations does it take in 1 hour using the same unit rate, which is per second. All right? Which, let me erase this, because I did try to convert it to feet. But I said, no, let me carry the same theme and so on. Which this is how many times that it could rotate per second per hour. Well, this is the unit rate right here. Okay, that we have. All right. So I'm going to divide this number by 334,000. Okay. So when I divide that, I should get about 17.6 rotations. Now, of course, I like to count like a full rotation or so on, but I will, even though it's giving us this number, I could put about 17 rotations. Okay, so I could put about 17 rotations. Or you could put full rotations. All right, guys, so if you had an issue with this activity or a student task activity, you guys can refer to your Google Meet session. Make sure that you remember to go complete your cool down in the Google Classroom. And I'll be back to review the cool down with you guys. All right, so I'll see you then.